Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Yo Joe Outlet, your only source for G.I. Joe weapons and vehicle accessories. Don't have that incomplete Joe any longer. Connect with Yo Joe Outlet Center and complete that figure for an awesome price. Go check them out on eBay at Yo Joe Outlet Center and Facebook Yo Joe Outlet. Hello, beautiful people. Chasing up New 80s Revolution. Again, down here in the cave, the COVID cave, the Corona quarantine cave. I'm trying to give you guys a new look each episode, a new view of the room. Got this, got my workstation here, right? This is kind of been, this is the announcer's desk for Wrestling with the Past, which we're working on tonight, by the way. I know I've been telling you that it's coming, another episode, but we're doing it tonight. That's been transformed into the work from home station. Somebody noticed the red, white, and blue rope type of look there on the LJN shelf. That is actually a colored electrical tape that I put up there. Gave it a fancy new look there. I love it, because as I'm doing this LJN Revisited, I'm pulling figures off the shelf, and I'm actually putting them back in series release order. So right now, the ones that are still standing there, those are the ones we've already talked about and reviewed. So I'm putting them back perfectly in order until my kids come down and destroy them again. But I don't know, man. We're still going on. Everything is still shut down. Some stuff is reopening. You know, we've got mixed feelings about that. In my case, just because it reopens doesn't mean I'm going. I think me and restaurants are going to be done for a while. You know, I don't plan on retiring the mask anytime soon. And I'm just hoping that this is over. Not over. I stopped saying that now. I used to say it a month ago or so. I don't think it's really ever going to be over. I'm just hoping this is more manageable by September, when my kids, me and Liam's bowling league starts back up again, because that got stopped with like 3 weeks to go a few months ago, and I can't wait to get it back. That was a good time. But anyway, this has allowed me to engage with you guys more regularly, which has been awesome. Great response to the video I did a couple days ago about, you know, childhood relics and the benefit of growing up in one home versus moving a bunch of times. You know, the impacts of divorce, things like that. The comments, the follow-up, the feedback has been exactly what I'd expect from you guys. It's been fantastic. You know, thanks to Anthony Bachelari and sending over that awesome Saturday Night's Main Event lineup from his childhood. That was awesome. So we are going to continue along with the LJN Revisited. We're up to, the last Series 3 video that I did, Series 3 Part 2, I you know, didn't realize that we only had one more Series 3 figure left. So we'll start off with that. And then we'll jump right into Series 4, the 1987 Series 4 line. Again, I did not, after I looked at the list of Series 3, I thought we were going to do a Part 3 of Series 3. But we didn't need to, because we've only got one guy left to talk about in Series 3. And then we'll jump right into Series 4. So to wrap up Series 3, how could you forget this guy? I didn't forget him. I just didn't realize that there was only one guy left. When it comes to figures that got the most play, this guy is right up there with, you know, Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk and Ricky Steamboat, guys like that. Man, you know, what, again, an iconic character, one of the greats of all time, a perfect addition to the World Wrestling Federation lineup in 85, 86, 87. In my organization, multiple time world heavyweight champion, multiple time intercontinental champion, fluctuated from good guy, bad guy, just like he did in, real life. We've got one of the greatest of all time, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Great figure, of course, just, you've heard me say it a whole bunch of times on here. And I continue to say it because it really is truth when I say iconic images. This figure is an iconic image. The shape of this figure, the look of this figure. I've seen guys with tattoos of this figure. I've seen T-shirts with this figure's silhouette on it, and you just know what it is. You could black this figure out into a silhouette all day, and I'll tell you exactly who he is. I mean, I'd probably do that with all the LJNs, but, this is a great, great, great visual reminder of childhood right here. And he got a ton of play. Ton of play. Feuding with Hogan, teaming with Hogan, good guy, bad guy, matches with Steamboat, Bruno Sammartino. Him and Bruno Sammartino had an awesome feud. Yeah. Holding this guy really does make me want to bust the ring out and have some matches. Maybe get that federation started up again, which I have no problems doing. Trust me, there's no embarrassment on my end telling the world, or, 1,790 of you, that I might be sitting down here busting out the LJNs and having some good old play again. That could be coming. I don't know. I don't know if I'll show you, because I still haven't figured out that whole wrestling. What was I going to call it? Play action championship wrestling. Haven't figured that out yet. Don't know what to do with that. But Randy Savage wraps up Series 3. That's it. That is it for Series 3. So we jump into Series 4, and if you got Randy Savage, then you know that you must have his lovely manager, valet, / wife, / ex-wife, and the late, of course, Miss Elisabeth. So much emotion with this figure and the person in real life. As a kid, Miss Elisabeth coming on the scene in 85, when you've got people like Moolah, you've got the Wendy Richters, the Judy Martins, not necessarily your divas, okay? And then on the other side of the coin, in the other federations, in the NWA, you've got Baby Doll, who was, okay. Who the heck else? I mean, there was a wrestler named Misty Blue. Okay. Precious in the AWA with Jimmy Garvin. Okay. So not really any knockouts, right? Not any really just, wow, look at this. This is beautiful. She's beautiful. Until Miss Elisabeth came on the scene. And when she came out on WWF Championship Wrestling in 1985, they sold the heck out of her. They were falling out of their chairs. McMahon, Bruno, Jesse Ventura, whoever. They were just, drooling over Miss Elisabeth, on purpose. Great sell. But it was true. She was the first, real beauty of, and classy beauty. She was just a whole package. You got Missy Hyatt. You're like, well, Missy Hyatt's really nice looking, but, Miss Elisabeth is the one. She's the first. She's the original diva, or the original, valet or female manager or whatever. She's, the first one that I, was just in love with. And of course that results in, having posters of Miss Elisabeth and things like that. And then she stayed in wrestling, forever until her death. And Miss Elisabeth's death was one of the more surreal deaths for me, because it's one thing to it's one thing to be a guy, wrestler, and get involved with drugs and things like that, steroids and cocaine. Okay, sure. Eddie Guerrero, that's sad, but sure, it makes sense, right? He's living this lifestyle. All the wrestlers that, the Von Erichs, everybody that we've lost as a result of drug use, or, you kind of go, all right, it sucks, but it's part of the package, I guess. It makes sense. But not Elisabeth. I mean, Elisabeth was pure and innocent, and how could she be involved in the seedy part of wrestling? And that was sad. That was a very, very sad moment when I found out that she had died, and the events surrounding her death. And I'm not talking about Lex Luger and Elisabeth died of an overdose, of a reaction to a combination of substances that slowed her central nervous system and impacted her bodily functions, swallowing and breathing. That stuff got slowed down, and that's what a drug overdose is for the most part. So I don't blame anybody. I don't blame Luger. I don't get into all that. What I'm most concerned about is that, or what I was most affected by was that a very innocent part of childhood, died when Miss Elisabeth died. And obviously you wish that everybody could, you could reverse time and have everybody not die. But, this one still doesn't feel right. The fact that, Elisabeth is dead. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're not here to cry. I love telling the story of Miss Elisabeth and how I got her. So these figures, today, if I want something, I'm going to, and forget about it online. Obviously, if we want something today, we're going to go online and we're going to go buy it, right? And we don't have to search for it. We don't have to search different websites like we would search different stores back in the day. It would, it's just online. You just go find it and you buy it. But back in the day, you only bought stuff if you happened to be at the store at the right time when this particular figure or items were on the shelf. And we were kids. We were 10 years old, so we had to rely on somebody to actually take us to that store. Which, how often did that happen, really? How often did you go with your mom to Toys R Us? Just a random trip to Toys R Us? Never, right? How often did you go to the mall with your parents so that you could go check out KB? Quarterly, maybe? I mean, my parents, we didn't go to the mall. That wasn't our weekly night out, wasn't to the mall. So I don't know, once every few months maybe you go to the mall for some reason. You go run in KB to see what they got. So we had such a small window to get out there and actually find these items and actually find these figures. Or you'd hope that at Christmas time or your birthday, somebody would just go scoop all of them up. And so I could never find Miss Elisabeth, ever, in the store, because I was never at the stores. Today, we get in our car, we go to the toy store every single day if we want to. If we're on the hunt for something, we show up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when they're putting the stock out. We know when that's going to happen. We sit there, we wait. You didn't do that as a kid. If you happen to go, then you happen to go. So I couldn't find Elisabeth. Any store that I would end up going to, no Elisabeth. None. I knew she existed, but she eluded me. Well, one night, my childhood best friend that I have mentioned, he was sleeping over my house, and for some reason that night, we went to the mall. It was a summer because it was a Monday night because primetime wrestling was on. And so some summer night when I was having my friend's sleepover, we all went to the mall. Again, for whatever reason. Me, my mother, my stepfather at the time, went to the mall. And, of course, went to KB. And as we got to KB, I noticed, as we went to the action figure aisle, you look at the shelves, you scan the shelves. And then a lot of stores I know KB had like a bottom shelf, right? Like a ledge. And when kids didn't put toys back on the shelf, they would fall down and they'd be on that ledge. And sometimes the ledge was just a mess of stuff. And for some reason I looked down at the ledge and I saw her. I finally saw Miss Elisabeth. That blue package, shiny, there she is, Miss Elisabeth. And I was so excited. I was so pumped that I ran out of the store with Miss Elisabeth in hand. I stole her. And surprisingly, nobody from KB noticed. And so here's this little kid, this 10-year-old kid, running out of KB with a toy in my hand. I'm making the break. I'm going for it. Because my parents were sitting on a bench right across from the store. And so I ran up to them with the figure in hand, basically jumping up and down like an idiot, begging and begging and begging for this $8 figure. And, my mom, I don't have any money. My stepdad, wants to win me over, I assume. So he goes into the pocket. There you go, child. Here's $10. So I rush back in and I buy my Miss Elisabeth. And I my friend was upset. He didn't have a dime on him, but he wanted Miss Elisabeth. And I got the only one that was in KB at that time. And that's how Miss Elisabeth became mine. Now there is a variant of Miss Elisabeth with pink skirt. And pink skirt Miss Elisabeth is a $300 figure, which is mind blowing. It's the exact same figure. The little fabric wrapped around her waist is pink, and it adds $225 in value to this figure. This is a $70 figure. She becomes a $300 figure with a pink skirt. I had pink skirt Miss Elisabeth and sold her foolishly, which I regret very much. But I was just looking at it going, what's the big deal? I can grab a quick $300. And so I sold pink skirt Miss Elisabeth, or purple skirt Miss Elisabeth, however she's known. And I want it back. Yeah. So I may have to track it down someday. Okay, long story about Miss Elisabeth. Sorry about that. Let's go into Series 4 again. I've told plenty of stories about this guy and how he catapulted to superstardom in my LJN Federation by teaming with Terry Funk and becoming the Wild Desperados, multi-time tag team champion. And really that tag team elevated Cowboy Bob Orton to the upper tier of my LJN figures. And it's really, really, really a bad figure. It is a poor, poor figure. Looks great. Looks tremendous. Great hat comes off. But look at this, look at this hand positioning here. We've got some really awkward hand positioning. And I could never figure out what was going on here. Why his hand is so curled like that. And when I look at the poster, let's see, somewhere, of Cowboy Bob Orton, he's kind of holding his hand up like that in the poster too. So I don't know what reference pick they were going off or what they were thinking with that, but that is just odd, hand positioning to me, and it really compromised play. But that didn't matter. That didn't matter. You played. You figured out a way to play, and you played and you had a good time. So this is a great figure. Cowboy Bob Orton had a great run in my LJN Federation, and I am proud to say that I still have the hat. I still have all of my accessories, because for some reason these things would just disappear. I don't know where they'd go. I don't know why they'd disappear. We didn't really take them anywhere. We didn't take them out of the house. Did we lose them down the heating vents? Did we flush them down toilets and sinks? Did we accidentally throw them in garbages? I mean, why did kids lose accessories? Where did they go? They're only in a confined space. Where did they go? I don't know. But I still have mine. One of my least favorite figures, such a strange pose. Obviously, I know what they're going for here based on the character and the personality of the character at the time, I guess, what they were going for with this. So I understand the pose, but just a weird figure. In fact, his legs are kind of slanted and bent off to the side, and I don't think that's just rubber bending. I think this is the mold. Bad figure. Got its point across, but barely any play in my federation. The adorable Adrian Adonis, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see there with the legs, I mean, they're kind of weird. They kind of curve off. And this is not a wrestling pose. He's kind of doing this effeminate Adrian Adonis thing when he was playing the gay character, I guess, in 1987. So for that, I get it, and it looks great, and it's a good looking figure, and it's got the pierced lips and the eyeshadow, and great. No play though. Can't do anything with this. I didn't enjoy this figure. I'm sure I used Adrian Adonis a bit, but no real significance. This was definitely a shelf warmer. This definitely sat on the shelf and barely got any time. Adrian Adonis. The angle was fun. The gimmick on wrestling was fun, on Superstars of Wrestling. The flower shop that replaced the Piper's Pit. And then Roddy Piper comes back, and that's his big face turn when he reclaims his set, and for a couple of weeks they would have the Piper's Pit set up right next to the flower shop, and they'd have dueling skits, culminating, of course, in the classic retirement match at WrestleMania 3. Retirement match. But anyway, Adrian Adonis, very little play. Now, would I have loved a New York City black leather jacket Adrian Adonis figure? Absolutely. And I've seen some customs where they take this figure and they paint it, black trunks. Come on, you can't have this figure be the tough guy Adrian Adonis just because you paint the hair black and paint the trunks black. It's just not going to work. Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch would have made incredible figures. I would have loved those figures. And I think they were still relevant in, mid 85 or early 85. Not mid 85, but, very late 84, very early 85. I think we could have gotten away with a Dick Murdoch, Adrian Adonis 2-pack. I think that would have been just fine. So many figures that we could have had. That would have just been so great. The U.S. Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo would have been just so great to have. Even a Tony Garea figure, who was really prominent, just as prominent as S.D. Jones. Tony Garea figure would have been great. Moving on. This is a character that I never got into as a wrestler. Never liked him. He's Cuckoo today. If you watch some of his interviews on YouTube, he's absolutely insane, and really has fallen from grace. He really, back in the day, this guy was a sex symbol, and was on all of the pinups with the chest hair and riding a horse, and all the ladies would just love him. And now you look at him, and he looks like a foot. So and he's crazy. And the figure got some play, but not a lot. I mean, this is 87. I am absolutely not fading out of the play of LJNs at 87. No way. I mean, I'm only 11 years old in 87, so I'm playing the heck out of these guys. But this guy, not a lot of action at all. Although he does have a great pose, and I could have used him a lot. I didn't. Because I didn't really know what to do with the guy, but Billy Jack Haynes is who I'm talking about. Good detail. He's got that huge forearm tattoo, and he's got one over here. When guys would just get eagles tattooed on their bodies, that was the thing. Get yourself an eagle. Good accessory. Got the hat, right? Even got the hat hair, which I like to see. He's got hat hair. But no action. No action from my LJN Federation for Billy Jack Haynes. Fine figure. Got Oregon written on the trunks there. Got it written on both boots. So the detail, they nailed it. He's got I remember he would wear a headband around his neck for whatever reason. Billy Jack Haynes. Good figure. Good looking figure. Crazy dude, good-looking figure, no play. No play in the LJN Federation. The last group here are some tag teams. Figures that I never had as a kid. I never had this tag team as a kid at all. They just eluded me. Or by this time, tag team sets really weren't being sold in stores anywhere near me. And so as we get into these later figures, a lot of these figures came from mail order. There was a company called The Wrestling Ring in Maryland, and I would be able to order figures from them. Birthdays or Christmas, I would get figures from them, because around late 87 into 88, we weren't seeing a ton of LJN figures in stores. I wasn't, anyways. I would see older series, but I wouldn't see, I wouldn't see these guys. I wouldn't see, One Man Gang. Kamala I never saw in stores. Guys like that, those had to be ordered. I did get Billy Jack Haynes. One day I went into Toys R Us in, probably early 88. Went to Toys R Us. Had some money. I remember I won some money. There was a thing called a 50-50 raffle. And my grandparents would go to this bar on Sundays, and they would just hang out with all their friends, and they would always do the 50-50 raffle. Well, for some reason, I gave them like $1 to play the 50-50 raffle, and magically I won, right? Or my grandparents just gave me $40. I don't know. But I had $40, and I went to Toys R Us. And I remember buying G.I. Joe. I remember buying a Sergeant Slaughter tank. Or it was a vehicle that Sergeant Slaughter came with. A hovercraft, it might have been, with Sergeant Slaughter. Anyway, I don't know. But as I was leaving, that was almost all my money. Like, that was like $24.99. But as I was leaving, in a clearance bin in the middle of the store was a huge batch of LJN figures for $4.99. And I ended up getting Billy Jack Haynes and Ken Patera and Slick and a few others that I'll probably remember when I do the later series. And they were $4.99 each. And I was ecstatic, But that's about the last time I started seeing LJNs in the stores. So we're talking early 1988. But never saw these guys. Never saw the Killer Bees. Never saw them in package. Never saw them in stores. Only had the Killer Bees as an adult collector. Never had them as a kid. So I really can't say if I ever played with them or not. Right? Because I didn't play with toys as an adult. But these guys are tiny. They're very, very small. They're like British Bulldog tiny. And so, that would make it difficult to fight them against Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine, who towered over them. But they're good-looking figures. And I see a lot of customizers making these guys into the Rougeau brothers and, fine figures. Jim Brunzell, B. Brian Blair, the Killer Bees. Not as a kid. Never had them as a kid. Did have these guys as a kid, and I remember the Christmas that I got them, and it was the greatest ever because I wanted this tag team so bad, and I got them, and man, did I use the heck out of them. This team got so much play and so much action, and then I went on to singles. Bret Hart was a singles wrestler in my federation. Jim Neidhart was a singles wrestler. They would team back up. I think they broke up a couple times and feuded together. But one of my favorite tag teams in real life and in the LJN world is the Hart Foundation. Love these guys. Love them both. I think they're both fantastic figures. Both very playable. Perfect. Really great figures. Love these figures. Of course, we've got them with the brown belts. And these are two figures that came from the Wrestling Ring warehouse or store in Baltimore, Maryland in the 80s. 88, 87, 88 is when I think I got the Hart Foundation for Christmas 87. And knew that I was getting them. Because, again, parents can't hide presents well, and these were actually hid in the trunk of my stepdad's car. And so I think one day he told me to go get something out of his trunk, like in early December or something, and I was like, oh my God, there's my Hart Foundation. And then when I went in and said, I just saw the Hart Foundation in your trunk, he's like, those aren't for you, those are for somebody else. And I was like, okay. Christmas 1987, Hart Foundation, used them a lot, great figures, love them. The boxed Hart Foundation is like a $2,000 box set. That's Series 4 Part 1. We'll come back with Series 4 Part 2 and probably Series 4 Part 3 soon. And then, once we're done, we're not done. Because it's not going to be just the LJNs revisited. It's going to be the birth of the New 80s Revolution revisited. So after the LJNs, we're going to talk about the Bendies. We're going to talk about the Thumb Wrestlers. We're going to talk about the Remcos, the AWA Remcos. We're going to talk about the Galoob figures. I might not talk about the Hasbros. I don't have a lot of passion for the Hasbros. If you really want me to talk about the Hasbros, I'll do it a little quicker. But my heart is just not in it with the Hasbros. But we're going to keep going with the wrestling figures. We're going to keep going with Wrestling with the Past. New episode is getting created tonight. It'll probably be in existence by the weekend. And then I'll just drop on here every once in a while and talk to you anyway. I do not have a new G.I. Joe coming yet, but in 14 days, I will get about $130, about $110, $115 from YouTube. They will be sending me another check in mid-May. And so we're going to order another G.I. Joe item and show it off to you guys. I got my man, my source, my dealer is working on putting together a nice little order, a nice little batch of 1984 figures for you. So we're going to show those off when they come in. And that's it. That is all. Quarantine cave is closing down for the day. I will see you all next time. Good night now.